Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Elders Corner. We're excited to launch a new program that we will be using to go out and share specific information, things concerning current events, things that pertain to life and godliness. And during these messages in this program, we will go near and far to bring that information to you by using special people that will keep things real, family members, friends, neighbors. This is a program where people will be able to share their thoughts and opinions and good word concerning many topics. Now, today we're outside in the beautiful land of Yale, Virginia, and so we're living in the country today. This is where our L&M Community Fellowship resides, where we would normally have our services. And so it was so beautiful out here today, we decided to do an outdoor shoot. And so let me put a disclaimer out there. If you happen to hear a car go by, a dog bark, or us swat a flea, then it's okay because we're living in the country and that's what country living is all about. And so we're not going to try to be perfect in every aspect when we do these shows. We're going to just try to keep things alive and real. Amen. And so today we're going to start our series concerning honoring and recognizing the fathers for the Father's Day. And we're going to do these segments for the rest of this month of June in recognition of Father's Day. And today I'm thrilled to have with me my lovely wife, Minister Darlene Dillard. She's going to be sharing some things with us. Come on, honey, join me. She's going to be sharing some things concerning her father and the life of concerning things with her father. And so, Darlene, I want to start. Thank you so much for being with me. You know, it's a thrill to have my wife with me. We both live very busy lives, and so we don't often get to do things together in ministry. And so, this is a great opportunity for me. So, I thank you, and I want to start by just simply asking you, what was your relationship like with your father, and how would you say it even affects you to this day?
I had a good relationship with my father. He was a farmer. He worked on a farm, but his thing was that family was very important to him. He valued his wife. He valued his children, and he made us priority. He worked, but he also knew that spending time with the family was very important. So on the weekends, we would always do something outside, or he would take us somewhere special. Like most of the time, you didn't get to go to your grandma's house every day, you know. So that was a special time. If on the weekend we would go see our grandparents, we would go see our aunts, and for us during that time, that was time out, and that was time well spent.
All right. Is that similar to those visitations? What about things like vacation? Did you have set week and 2 week vacations like we do today?
No, we didn't have vacations. We really couldn't afford that kind of stuff because my sister had polio, cerebral palsy. My brother was asthmatic, so we didn't really get to go out for long vacations like that. Now we did get to spend like the summers with our grandmother.
Okay.
From time to time we would spend summers with our grandmother, and we would my aunts would come in from out of state and would spend time at our house a week or two at a time. But so far as a regular vacation where we went out and done vacation, no.
All right. So now your father worked on the farm. Did that involve a lot of long hours? Did you feel that sometimes he may have worked too hard, you didn't get to spend the quality time you would rather have had, or do you think what you spent was great based on him working like he did?
Well, I mean, I know that my father loved me very much, and I was real close to my father. I was closer to my father than my mom, but my father, he worked hard, and when he came in from work, most of the time, he just wanted to, get his dinner, relax, and look at a little TV, which was black and white during that time.
All right.
And so he would do that. He would come in and tell all of us good night if we had already gone to bed. Because sometimes with them doing combining work with the fields and stuff, he didn't get in till 8, 9 o'clock at night.
All right.
Because during that time, they had lights on the tractors and stuff where they could work past dark.
All right.
And
Okay.
so,
Okay.
so we didn't, you know, but when he did have an early evening home, all of us would have family time. We would sit and watch TV. He would talk and ask us how was school and that type of thing.
Okay. You know, I'm laughing because you mentioned black and white, uh, talking about a TV.
Yeah,
And, you know, today we've got things so far from that end of the spectrum. You know, we've got smart TVs, you know, we've got Wi-Fi. You know, you probably never even thought that you see those things when you were coming up with your dad. Tell us about the things that you remember growing up, their environment. You mentioned the black and white TV. What other things that can you share about even in your time that you got to see?
well, we had outdoor bathroom,
Oh my God.
and
Is that, what was that called?
the toilet.
Okay, was that the outhouse?
The outhouse.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
it was the outhouse. But we had to get our water from the spring, which was you had to travel through this cornfield and go down this hill and get the water from the spring. Now, little do you know, during that time, the frog would hop out and we would get the water.
All right, okay, all
And
right.
thinking about that now, I'm like, oh my God,
Okay.
you know.
All right.
But we would get the water, bring the water, but the water would be so nice and cold, and you wouldn't even. I'm gonna tell you the truth. If I saw a frog in there that day, I didn't drink that water.
Right, right. Absolutely.
But and then we had to walk down this long lane, and then walk down another long lane to get out to the main road to board the school bus.
Okay, all right.
You know, my father would walk to work because the farm we lived on the farm in a house. So he would walk to work, and eventually my mother got a job outside the house, so she would drive to work, out to work, and come on back home. But, and then, you know, we had wood stoves for
Okay,
heat.
all right, okay. Now, how did those wood stoves work? Did they give out good heat?
Oh yeah, the stoves would give out good heat. As a matter of fact, the stoves would, when my father would first make the fire, the stove would get so hot that the whole stove would turn red. And I was afraid we were gonna burn the house down, but that never happened. But
And everybody, I mean, most people pretty much had that same setup, right? I mean, the wood stove was common, the outhouse was common, you know, the
no running water
was common, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so, you know, looking today for what we have, and you know what our fathers, what our parents provided. What would you say about how we view things now with all the things that we have compared to what we used to have?
Well, we didn't have a lot back then, but we were grateful for what we had, and we were children that didn't tend to spend all our time begging for stuff. We made fun out of whatever we had. If you know the mud pies outside.
Oh no, y'all didn't make mud pies.
Oh
too.
yeah, we made mud pies. We made the mud pies, and we would make. Sometimes we would during the season where the potatoes and the carrots and the onions and all that stuff was growing. We would go out there and pull one up and cut it up and put it on our plate dishes, and we would eat it.
All right, okay.
And
okay.
the raw potatoes with the vinegar and the salt and pepper, that was the main dish.
And I mean, all you pretty much needed was something to do. I mean, if you had outdoors, you were good, right? You'd make something happen.
Right, and I remember I was 11 when I got my first bicycle.
Okay.
Well, really it was a tricycle because it had training wheels on it.
Okay.
But you know, before that, we just got, most of the time we got a few things for Christmas.
Okay.
And we were very grateful. But the biggest thing during that time for us was the candy bag.
Okay.
The candy bag, and with the candy, the peanuts, the regular nuts, oranges, apples, and sometimes bananas.
Okay.
That was the biggest thing for us at Christmas because that was our own personal supply of goodies, and we could eat them whenever we wanted to. Whereas the rest of the time, we would get one item on Friday when our father and mother would go shopping at the grocery store.
Okay. Okay.
Because we were on such a tight budget.
All right. So Dad worked hard. You on a tight budget. You dealt with what you had. And
Yeah.
you made fun with what you had.
Yeah.
And you know, I had the pleasure of meeting your dad, and I must say, you know, in all honesty, he was a great guy. He treated me well, and you know, he didn't know anything about me. Just the fact that we were together was good enough for him, and he never said a harsh word to me. And if he said it to you, I didn't know anything about it, but he always treated me with great respect, and I really liked him. I remember him as a calm man. He was a guy that was comfortable with just having his westerns on, you know, and we had that in common because I like westerns, and so I could go to his house and we could sit there and watch westerns together and talk. And I used to listen to him, and he was very calm, you know, whenever I saw him. Now, do you know of a side that was different than calm that you like to share concerning your dad? Because we all have those different
Yeah.
sides.
Well, m- my father was pretty much that way all the time.
Okay.
But every now and then, you know, if someone came across his path and really rubbed them the wrong way,
Okay.
you would see a different side of him. But that wasn't often because he pretty much was the same all the time.
Okay. Okay. So you really had to go the extra mile to get him upset.
Oh yeah, you would have to really push some buttons with him.
Okay, all right, awesome. I mean, that's what I believed about him, you know. But I just thought I'd check in with you because,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, sometimes we don't know what goes on behind the closed doors. But he
That's
just
right.
seemed like he was that way.
He was that way, and you know, I remember when he was, we had raised this pig.
Raised a pig.
We raised
Okay,
a
we're gonna
pig,
hit the pig
and
story.
yeah, and it became
All
a hog. So my father would always take him. He would take him to meat market because that was the money for in the winter to do our Christmas.
Okay.
And so this particular time, he decided he was going to kill the hog, and we would have the meat to get us through the winter season.
All right.
And we usually always got deer meat, but you know, this was the first time he killed the hog. Well, he killed that hog, and I'm telling you, um, he divided the meat up and gave all his brothers and sisters some, and we put the rest in the freezer for to eat. My mother went in there and she cooked something. I think it was a shoulder or something. Anyway, she cooked it. And y'all come on to the table. Everybody came to the table. My father sit down. We all looked at that meat on the table. And all I could see was the pig in the pen. And my father said, I can't eat this. Give it all away. I just cannot eat this. He said, I done fed this pig, watched him grow into a hog, and I can't eat this meat. And I was sitting over there, and everybody was looking at me, and I was like, I can't eat it either. My mother say, you ain't got to eat it. You can go to bed hungry. I said, okay. I got right up from the table and went on.
And you went to bed hungry.
Went to bed hungry. I sure did. I was glad to see breakfast next morning, but for that moment, I won't eat that pig.
Now that was because the pig had really been with you so long. He was like a part of the family.
He was like a pet, yeah,
Okay,
because
like
we
a
would
pet.
go out there, and mess with the pig and oink and all that kind of stuff,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
So
So you kind of got attached to the.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll understand that. We'll let you slide in with the pig story.
Yeah.
I don't know how many pig stories we're gonna get here on this program, but that was definitely one.
yeah,
All right. So your dad. Tell us about the relationship with your dad. As far as we know that he was a hard worker. We know he spent time with you. You know, you have so many different dynamics in the family where the father is there, the father is not there, and you know we get a bad rep about, you know, not being there, and a lot of parents don't end up staying together. You know, what was your dynamic as far as that goes? You know, as far as parents staying together, you know, how that affected the family.
right. Well, when I was 14 years old, I was in high school, and my parents separated. And I had always seen that in some of my friends, their parents would separate, but I never thought that would come to our household, my mom and dad. And so they separated, and we went to live with my dad, 5 children.
Okay.
And my father moved forward. I mean, he still worked every day. We were old enough where we could be in the house by ourselves. We didn't need anybody to take care of us. And so, it really changed my father because he got to the point after that he kind of really stayed to himself a lot. He didn't really do a whole lot of socializing with anybody. He just kind of lived his life into himself, went to work and came home. And
So you think that that separation of that relationship with your mother hurt him to the
It
point
did
that he
hurt
did
him
that?
because he used to like to drink his beer on the
Mm-hmm.
weekend when he was off.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't drink during the week, but he would drink on the weekend. Well, after that, I noticed he drank during the week too. He would drink and then he would go ahead on the bed till the next day, get up, go back to work, do the same thing over again. And he did that for many years. And later on, you know, I moved out of Virginia and I got the call he had had a stroke. So I decided to move back, come back to Virginia, and I did. I came back to Virginia to help take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he did not need me to take care of him because he had found him a female friend and she was doing all he needed to help take care of him and stuff.
Okay.
So
All right.
I wasn't needed, and so I went on and I moved to Richmond.
Okay.
You know, and I would check on him. We called each other real often. We would talk about all kind. I could talk about anything with my father. Where with my mother, I couldn't do that.
Okay.
My father didn't judge me. He just listened to me, gave me advice. He never said, you know, you messed up. He never went down that road with me. He would always talk to me in a positive way to encourage me to move forward. You know, you done made a mistake, but don't let that be your life.
All right.
And to take care of your family. And so that's what I did. I worked hard like he did. I took care of my family, and then I just, you know, continued to do what I needed to do to survive. But in the midst of all that, I met you.
All right.
So,
All right. Awesome.
and you know, you reminded me somewhat like my father, but you were a family man, and that was important to me.
All right. You know, I've got to stop right there with what you mentioned about your father, the way he handled conversations with you, the way he almost nurtured you in various situations. And, you know, I constantly talk about how men and fathers and just men that parent children get a bad rep at times. You know, we have that reputation that more people talk about the deadbeat part of the dad or the fact that the father's not around more than they do any of the good parts. And you mentioned about how your dad had some very positive aspects that he was able to instill in your life that still carry today. You know,
Yes,
the
yeah, they
independence,
do.
the
They
hard
do.
working, the family matters. And so, you know, that's a great testimony. You know, I just want to encourage the men and the fathers. You know, for some, you know, a lot of men are struggling
Right,
with what they're supposed to be doing,
right,
how they're supposed to handle business, and a lot of times we are our lives are affected by what we hear people say.
right,
And so a lot of times if people tell you that you're not up to standard, you're not doing the best that you can, you should be doing this or that, make you feel like you're a failure. A lot of times our young men, especially our young men, don't believe that they can handle the role as a father. And so it's good to hear a testimony where someone, you know, stayed in there, was a good father, and wasn't just the hardcore part
right,
of the father
right,
that we hear
right.
about.
Yes,
That's great. And so, you know, even today, you know, I look back at what your father instilled in you, and the independence. Now, do you see that as a good part or a bad part of what you learned about the independence and the hard working? Well, how do you see that?
well, I mean, the way I look at it now, sometimes, oh, excuse me, bugs, I can't stand them. Mm. Well, anyway, I see that now as it can be good things sometimes, and then sometimes it can be a bad thing because you get to a point where you're so busy and you're doing stuff and you don't know when to stop. You don't know when to, you know, it's time to quit for this time and come back to it.
What we call that workaholic?
Yeah, and
Hmm.
you get to a point where you feel like whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to accomplish, you got to finish it right at that time. And that's not what you do.
Okay.
You know, you get to a certain point, you allow so much time for an item you're working on, then you stop and you come back and do some more at another time.
Okay. So would you say life and family is kind of like having a balance?
Yeah,
You got to balance things out.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So, Dad was the hard worker. I know you say you spent some time with your grandmother,
Yeah,
like during the summer, right? So I know you learned a lot from grandma because
yeah.
grandma raises a lot of children today, grandma still raising them.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the time at your grandma's?
I enjoyed my time with my grandmother. My grandmother, the whole time I was with her, and as I got older and could understand some things, she was always instilling wisdom in me and knowledge,
Okay.
and telling me how important things are, and you know, um, not taking life for granted, make the most out of my life, do things that make me happy. I mean, my grandmother was a person that she felt that, um, always have skills. Don't never allow yourself to get to a point where you don't know how to do anything,
Okay.
because your skills is what will keep you, will keep money in your pocket.
Okay.
Even if you can't, get a regular job, as long as you got skills, you're able to do something.
Okay. All right. I know we recognize in Father's Day, but we got to always acknowledge and recognize our mothers and our grandmothers, because they're the backbone. The fathers wouldn't be here without you guys. And we're just keeping it real. We're just having a great conversation about family, fathers, the whole dynamics of the family.
Yeah.
And so, I look at what we're going through today, because, your story is common to mine. We grew
Right.
up with the outhouse. We grew up with the pot in the house. We grew up with the, we didn't start out with the black and white TV. I remember being, as early as 7, 8 years old, before I remember that TV coming into the house. And so, I remember it wasn't long, we would turn the channel with the pliers. The knob went real quickly,
Yeah.
and I saw a whole lot of families doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, we had those similar situations of upbringing that we take for granted today. Even though, believe it or not, there's still a lot of places, even in Virginia, that still have those same living conditions.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us believe we've come out and we've gotten past a lot of things. But I think about what we're going through today. We have the pandemic
Right.
going on. And we know that our parents went through a lot of struggles back in the day. They had catastrophes. We have the injustice that we're always talking about now. We have the rioting going on, the protesting. We've got a lot of things going on right now. Do you recall anything that your father mentioned as what would have been a struggle like in his time? Did he ever share anything with you about his lifetime, or any type of trials and tribulations he had to endure?
Well, we actually, my father came up during the time where people were not segregated.
Okay.
So that came about in my time, where they segregated the schools. But there were certain things that during my father's time they were not allowed to do.
Okay.
And actually, you couldn't be at, if your neighbor wasn't of the same color,
Mm-hmm.
you could not visit your neighbor.
Okay. Okay.
If you got caught, you would get in serious trouble.
Okay.
But my father didn't talk about that a lot, because um, I don't know how they managed to do this, but my father's father was a white man, and my mother's and his mother was Cherokee Indian. So, like I said, I don't know how they managed to get together during that time like that, but they were married, they raised a family.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
that was, for me to think about that and talk about it now, it's kind of like, I don't know how that happened.
So imagine the DNA, what your DNA would be
Oh.
based upon
Oh, yes,
that knowledge.
Yeah. And so we are definitely living in a different day and time now, and it's a time, people shouldn't forget their roots. They shouldn't forget where they came from, and they shouldn't think that, you know, life. You can't think that life owes you something, because it don't.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to move forward in the things that are put before you at this time.
All right.
And be positive, and try not to get caught up in stuff that's not ethical and not real.
All
You
right.
know, you can't allow yourself to be riding and all the riots and stuff. That's not of God.
Okay.
And You just got to keep your focus.
Okay. It's
Keeping your focus. These bugs is terrible out here.
that's all right. We'll make it through. And what I remember, I remember coming up because you mentioned about things that they had to go through. I remember coming up and I spent a lot of time, because my siblings were gone and I was the last one around. And my mother, entertained a lot of her friends. So I sat around and at the feet and listened to a lot of the elderly people talk.
Right.
And so I remember some of the things they used to talk about and the wisdom that they instill in you.
Right.
And these little phrases that they had.
Right.
That at that time you didn't have a clue of what they were saying.
Right.
But they had been through so much and they had seen enough already where they were able to put something in you where if you listen, that it would help you today.
That's right.
I recall the gentleman telling me one time, he said, boy, he told me all the time, boy, that mouth of yours is going to get you in a world of hurt if you don't learn what to do with it. And I look at the scriptures now, how it talks about, how to handle the tongue, how to bridle that tongue, and how to be slow to speak and quick to listen.
Yeah, come on now.
And so if you don't take those nuggets from our forefathers, our foremothers, then there's a lot of information that's going to be lost. I know we have the grandchildren. Our dynamic is wide. We have a lot of grandchildren. We have
Right.
children, and so I'm always telling those grandchildren to get close to your grandmother, get close to your mother. Don't let those recipes leave you. Get that
Right.
information now.
Right.
Because I look back now at some of the things that I missed out on, that would enhance my life right now. As a man, as a father. And so I think it's very important that we get the story out, that we
That's right.
tell people about our parents, our
That's right.
grandparents.
Yes.
Because I remember saying that many times and different sharing different things about what we would call the old days.
Yes.
And a lot of times the children don't even believe that.
Oh no, they don't believe that stuff. They be looking at you like you're crazy.
They do.
Because they don't. They're like, really?
Yeah, because we're
Come
in a
on,
day now.
really?
Right. We're in a day now that they can't fathom that. They really can't believe that we would have been in a situation, even slavery. I know we've shared that conversation with our children before, and you mentioned slavery, and they go, "No, I wouldn't have lived in that time. Why did you guys allow that type of thing to go on?" And these are the stories that we still have some people here today that can share some of that information with you.
That's right.
And enhance their lives and bring them to a realization, because
Yeah.
what I'm seeing right now is the young generation now is starting to see and experience similarities.
Yeah.
We got the rioting and protesting going on, and now our young people are out there.
Right.
Now they're out there to make a difference, and they're out there now seeing things for themselves.
Yes. Yes.
And so some things, we're not going to have to tell them anymore,
No.
because they're seeing it for themselves.
That's right.
And I think that's so awesome. I don't want anything to come about in a negative way where we have to live. But hey, some of us, what's the old phrase? You got to live by hard knocks,
Yeah.
and sometimes the rubber's got to meet the road.
Yeah.
And so we all got to learn things the way we do them.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we're learning some things today, based on things that are not right.
That's right.
But that's all a part of life, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Amen. Hallelujah. So I want to close this out with I guess I ask you maybe one more question. What do you have a moment that you would say that's maybe your most memorable moment with your dad?
Well,
Anything stick out?
yeah. Well, I mean, I have a lot of them, but this one is more particular than anything. Was when he was at the hospital just before he passed. Him and I talked about some things that I'd never heard my father say to me, and it was very dear to my heart. He let me know how much he loved me, and he basically told me,
Well, that's all we have time for today. I tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation with my wife. We hope that you did also. Continue to tune in for our segments that will continue throughout the month of June, honoring and recognizing the fathers for Father's Day. Let us know how you enjoyed the program. We hope that you will continue to join us as we continue to do segments that we hope that will bless your lives. Amen. Hallelujah. So we're going to say until next time, God bless you, and may the Lord bless and keep you.